And here you'll see essentially the game in action. So it start off asking you, you're at a crossroad, do you want to go left or right? And then you have to type your choice. If you selected left, then it's going to take you to a lake, and it asks you whether if you want to wait for a boat or swim across. So let's go ahead and wait for a boat. And then the final step is it asks you which door would you like to go through, red, yellow, or blue. Now, depending on your choice, you'll either end up with game over or you'll end up with winning the game. So the basic setup for this game looks something like this, and I've included a link to the flowchart in the starting project right here. And of course you'll find all the links in the course resources as always. Now the first question you're going to ask the user is to make a choice between left and right. Now you can use my wording if you want. You're at a crossroad, where do you want to go? Type left or type right. But I think the fun part of this challenge is really creating your own story, right? But somehow get them to choose between left and right. If they choose right, or any other condition for that matter, tell them that they've lost, game over, for some sort of reason. In my case, if they had chosen right, the reason is because they fell into a hole, game over. But I think you're far more imaginative than I am, so go ahead and use all of those skills and make your game really fun. Now, if they've chosen left on the other hand, then we're going to take them to another question that asks them whether if they want to swim or whether if they want to wait for a boat. And if they swam, then it's going to be some form of game over. There's crocodiles, there's whatever it may be, but they can't continue. But if they chose wait, then we take them to the third and final question, which asks them to choose between 3 doors. And if they choose any door other than the yellow door, then they would lose, but if they chose the yellow door, then they somehow win. Now, notice how each of these just says game over, left or right, but the idea is really to use your creativity and make this game really your own. Now, one thing to remember though is that when the user types in a answer, let's say left or right, they might type it like this with an uppercase R, or they might type it like this, all lowercase. Have a think about how you might make sure that no matter which version they typed, you're still going to be able to catch their command, essentially. So have a think about what you've learned in the previous lessons and take a look at this flowchart. Then head over to the starting project and you can get started writing your code. Now, ASCII-R is really cool because it basically just uses a bunch of characters that you know and love, like the comma and the equal sign and all of these things that together make up a picture. And you can find your own ASCII art if you just go to ascii.co.uk/art, and you'll see a whole bunch of different topics, and they've grouped a lot of things together into individual pages. So if you wanted a rhino ASCII art, then you can find a whole bunch of rhinos that people have drawn. But the easiest way is, of course, using Command F if you're on a Mac or Control F if you're on a Windows machine, and then just search for the thing that you want. So, for example, I went and searched for treasure, and down here I found this brilliant treasure box ASCII art, which is what I'm using to print inside this print statement. Now, notice how there's 3 single quotes that are at the start and there's 3 single quotes at the end. Basically, what the single quotes allow you to do is to create multiple lines of a string, essentially. So notice how if I go ahead and delete all of these single quotes and I only had a set of double quotes, then it actually doesn't quite work. It gets quite confused because it thinks that this is where the line ends, but in fact I wanted to print all of this out. So to do that, instead of using a double quote, I use 3 single quotes, and at the very bottom I tell it, well, this is the end of my multi-block string by using 3 single quotes as well. So have a go at running that, and you should be able to see that in your console you get this little Treasure Island ASCII art being printed along with the 2 sentences that begin the game. So have a look at the flowchart, have a play around with the ASCII art, and also have a look at the final version of the app so that you can go ahead and create your own version to complete this challenge. Pause the video now and give that a go.